Namo Ramana. Today, I'm having a conversation with Sri Ujjwal Jagdish of the Ramana Maharishi Center for Learning. We are going to have a discussion on in the Ray's Garden. So I'll invite Ujjwal to share a few sentences about the Ray's program and also Ray's family immersion, and then we'll have a conversation on design of environments and experiences. Over to you, Ujjwal.
Namo Ramana. The the full form of race is the Ramana art form's intervention for self-awareness and excellence. At RMCL, all the faculties, they are trained in this wonderful methodology called Theatre Arts for Holistic Development, which was developed by Dr. Ambika Kameshwar, and they have been implementing this to teach and reach goals with children with special abilities and neurodivergent students. And once we all got trained in this wonderful methodology called Theatre Arts for Holistic Development, it is the structured use of the tools of theatre, which includes the movement, that is dance, the music and rhythm, and drama, storytelling, and arts and crafts in a structured way to reach any goal. So when this was given to us, and Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning has this vision that Ramana for all. What is Ramana? Ramana is the power which is shining within all beings, which makes us move, which makes us work, which makes us do everything that we are able to do. That's the power which makes the birds fly. That's the power which makes the fish swim. And that's the power which makes everyone be as they are. And to understand this power, Ramana for all, everybody has this right to understand this power and to reach their full potential. So with this vision that the Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning had, Ramana for all, we wanted to take this to school children. And what best way to take to the school children through the theater activities? We teach them dance, music, and drama, and they are given an opportunity to immerse themselves in an experience of theater when they prepare intensely for a performance, and they get an opportunity to perform on stage with beautiful costumes and makeup and props and sets, and they have an experience, and that builds up their confidence, and with that they learn a lesson for their lives. And to teach them these lessons, we incorporate their own lesson plans. We started with, because the English was being introduced very late in their curriculum in their school. So the English was very, very alien language to them. And whenever somebody spoke in English, they used to stare, and they could not understand and follow what was being taught. So to make it familiar, we took the English songs, which talk simple concepts like the animal songs, the fruit song, and the tree song, and these were taught to them with theater activities, which is movement and music and storytelling and drama, and this made it so familiar, and we could see that how these theater arts have influenced these children. So we have been doing this for more than 10 years, and we see that those children who have been a part of these theater activities from its inception, from their first standard, now they are all in eighth standard, and we can see that how they have got disciplined by themselves, because they come from various social backgrounds, and we don't know what is the cultural background that they come from. So they are very, very restless. They're not attentive in the class. But these theater inputs have actually brought great change in their lives, and we can perceive when we are going and teaching them a new concept or new lesson, they are more receptive, and they are more attentive, and they are more dedicated and sincere in their presentation. So it is very, very moving uh, sight for us to see that all these children have grown so much with this methodology called Theatre Arts for Holistic Development. So this was the beginning, and the work that is being done by the Race project of Ramana Maharshi Center for Learning. And through our discussions with Ramaji, we thought, I think this is the right name to be given to the work that we are doing for the neurodivergent individuals, where we are actually using the various theater tools to 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 have a joyous experience with these neurodivergent students. And we have also included the families, because the families are in a constant pressure of fixing something or correcting something, or seeing improvement quickly, but they forget to have fun and joy while learning. So to make them remember this, so we have started this family immersion model of the race program, where the families are invited with the neurodivergent individuals and children to be a part of this experience, joyous experience, where we are singing and dancing and we are sharing stories, and we have all these emotions being shared. And slowly the concepts are introduced and they are imbibing these concepts. uh, the our interactions with Anand, and my classes with Anand, we have seen that Anand has been imbibing all these values that I've been teaching him through storytelling, through the dances, and by understanding the meaning of the songs. So he has imbibed it, and he actually expresses it at the right time and the right situations. And we wonder, how is this possible? And I can only say that this is the magic of the theater arts for holistic development that we use in the RACE program. So it's rightly from this new year 2025, we are starting this in the garden of RACE, a wonderful initiative spearheaded by Ramaji.
Thank you, Ujjwal. So in the raised garden, we want to draw attention to three sets of variables. One is the environment, the second is experience, and third is the interaction, the nature of interactions between the guides and learners in the system, and for the family immersion, also between the parents, the professionals, and the children. So in today's discussion, we'll focus more on the environment with some discussion of experiences, and we'll address interactions later on. So when Dr. Sharada Natarajan, president of RMCL, suggested the race garden, because I was telling that Anand's adventures is something that people are beginning to recognize. So she suggested, so why don't we call it Anand's adventures in the race garden? And it immediately struck me that this is such a beautiful way to just frame in the environmental variables, because as soon as there is a diagnosis, people set out to fix the child's challenges. They do not think too much about the environment and what is it that needs to happen there. So we were very fortunate. We were homeschooling and we lived in a town where there was a lot of open space for walking. So we ended up with, once we started homeschooling, we had beautiful rhythms. We used to walk a lot and we were out in the sunshine. And so our first lesson was out while we were walking. So we were just fortunate that things happened that way. But just imagine children being stuck in a classroom all day long. And these days, the classrooms may not have as much physical activity, may not have the arts. We hear about this, that, maybe they're sitting with worksheets and things like that. And especially for the neurodivergent children, this may be a very difficult environment to be in. So even for Anant, so you talked about theatre arts for holistic development and its magic. But for that magic to unfold, sometimes we have to look at what is the environment where specific individuals will thrive. So on the one side, Anand seeks the group, he enjoys coming for the performances, but at the same time, he still has this need for being in a very quiet environment. So the first day, he actually took to your class the very first day we came to RMCL, because there was this huge classroom, very little, it's just almost empty, and there's no visual clutter, there's not much noise, and it's very silent, and he loved it. So almost, and there were of course interaction variables because you have a very calm way of teaching as well, but we'll leave the interaction variables for now. But just that environment was very pleasing for him. And of course, unfortunately, the Bangalore traffic is not so pleasing, but that's a complication. But the classroom itself really pulls him. And little by little, we discovered other places, for example, the Ramana Shrine, and of course, our trips to Tiruvannamalai. So each one of those experiences has really opened our eyes in terms of the environmental variables. So even though we have 4 or 5 projects going, I wanted to start with the in the Rays Garden because the Ramana art forms, that message has to be also taken to people in the right environments for people as well. And so if you can just comment on some of the environmental issues from your perspective, and then we can take it one environment at a time. So let's start with the classroom and then go from there.
Yes. As you know, the dance is actually an art form where the artist feels a freedom, a feel of expanse, and movement always requires space. So you can't have movements in a very restricted place. So I have had challenges because I'm tall and I have long hands and legs. I always seek out place which is wide and to dance freely. And in a group performances, we have to adjust with the group, and we can't stretch our hands fully or dance to the fullest. So this is natural for each artist, a dancer, to have an expanse to explore and to express. And Anant, as you told, when he comes to dance class, he enjoys using the whole space, and we have lot of movements. We move from one corner to the other corner, and in he loves exploring the place. And the wonderful thing is that in between, when he wants to take a break, so he likes to walk. So he says, "Can I take a walk around the place?" So there is some courtyard where he can have a stroll and refresh himself and come back to the next part of the class. So the environment is surely one of the greatest, I'm what do you say, one of the important factor in learning dance, especially. And as you told, the calm, it's always important to have a calm environment to pay attention and learn. So I remember once there was this practice. There's a school nearby, and there was this march past being practiced for the Independence Day, and there was this constant drum beats which was being heard, and how it was disturbing to Anand. And we found out a way of using the music. So I gave my earpods to him with some music, and with that music we could do some movements, and we could do some this one. So each one of us needs to think that if you should have a open space to teach and learn, it's wonderful thing. But if it's not there, what other alternative can be done can also be thought about, and we should implement that, because this is one of the important factors which makes them pay attention and learn.
Thank you, Ujjwal. The next environment I'd like to explore is actually Tiruvannamalai because it's a very interesting mix of environments and experiences. So, for example, so let me just pick couple, 2, 3 scenarios from there. One is the old meditation hall where we first listened to the chants, and Anant was immediately taken with it because we were sitting in this, dim lighting and a very quiet place, and he was hearing the chant. As soon as he came out, he said, "This stops the thoughts in my head." And this time we
Mm.
actually listened to the same, the chanting out in the big hall. The experience was different. It was a little bit more energizing. It didn't have the same effect. It had a different effect. He loved it, but it was a different effect than hearing it in that, old meditation hall. And then, of course, we have the Girivalam, which is a long walk, and also the Skandashram, the long walks. So let us just take these 3 scenarios, and I'd like to hear your comment on this. So there is the uh, old meditation hall, the larger hall, and the Girivalam. So let's just talk about family immersion in these 3 scenarios.
Yes, yes. Tiruvannamalai is many people's the favorite place in RMCL and all Ramana devotees basically. And I remember an article, I mean, in the book Timeless in Time, when A.R. Natarajanji, he speaks about the Ramanashramam. He says in Ramanashramam, it's a huge hall, and we have the Samadhi of Bhagavan. And there are different people doing different things. Some people are going around doing pradakshina. Some people are sitting and meditating. Some people are reading some books. And some child is crying. And some children are playing and running around. And there is some Veda chanting happening. And some devotees will just burst into a song. So all this is happening. Yet there is this underlying the silence which one can feel in the presence of Ramana there. So I mean, I was just reminded of that underlying silence. Although there is a lot of noise outside, but our true nature is actually that silence, and the Sannidhi of Ramana there has the power to take us back to that silence. But Anand, who is so overwhelmed with the little sounds, which we try to ignore, or it doesn't, I mean, it is not of great concern for us, but Anand is so receptive to even minute sounds. So as soon as a car is coming, he just puts his head like this, so that he's expecting a horn from the car or the truck or the bus which is approaching. So I remember in the Ramana shrine, if the technician goes near the amplifier, and he's afraid that it make a sound, so he's so anticipating of the sounds, and that would disturb him. But in Ramanashramam, the when we were in the meditation hall, we were already in the meditative mood there, and it is also that everybody there are in that with that one focus of paying attention to the self, paying attention to the silence. So that environment where everybody is focused on that one divinity, or one, they're all meditating, so that energizes. So that's why we all also have the group satsangs and group meditative sessions, which also makes us help in our sadhana. So when we're there in that old meditation hall, we could hear the actually the sound from the meditation hall. I when you are telling, I recalled it, that it has this very divine the echo which comes from from the main hall to the old hall. So Anant, when came out of the meditation hall, and he told, this chant makes me calm and stops my thoughts. I was actually thrilled to hear that, because even I could feel that peace in me, but I would have never expressed it, that it actually stops my thought. The But Anand had this experience of stilling the thoughts at that moment, and he has used that tool, and Ramaji also has encouraged him to use this tool, as to whenever the mind is agitated, whenever there is required for the mind to cool down, and where there is need for the mind to be cool for the next job to be done. So they use this tool of listening to the chanting, and making the mind calm, so that he can attend the coding class, or he can attend to the dance practice, or attend to the dance class in a more better way.
So a comment there is about the garden. Actually, you can transport it home, if you will. So when we came back from Ramanashramam, one of the things we tried was the the light was one of the variables we played with. So we would actually dim the light and just put just light the lamp and have very little bit of lighting. So that actually is a little bit like the environment in the old meditation hall. So if you read about the low arousal approaches, they actually talk about the variables, not only like the sound, but also the light. And I've realized over the years that Anant is also bothered by a lot of visual stimulation. So if you look at the RMCL classroom, the visual stimulation is low. And if you compare the big hall and the small room, I think we may not feel the difference, but it's not just auditory. Of course, there's not too much of, hustle bustle and disorganized movement. So it's very still, people are all sitting in a very orderly way, and that is good. But still, there is more stimulation and more light than in the old hall. So for him, I think the quality of the experience, because he's very sensitive to sound and also visual inputs, and I think for many neurodivergent individuals, that could be the case. And what I'm hoping is that that garden that we have been able to experience, so in our case it's like that Ramana Tata's garden, but it can be in the RMCL classroom or the shrine or Tiruvannamalai. We are experiencing all these different gardens, and I'm actually paying more attention to some of these subtle variables that really change things for him. So if he's very tired, I'll say, okay, let's put low lights and just listen to the chant. But if you're maybe getting ready for the dance, I'll say, okay, let's put on the chant and, do the talam with it. So we actually engage the chant in different ways, depending on whether we just want to be very still or whether we are preparing for a more energetic activity. So I'm just hoping to plant this idea in front of parents, because Anant is 27, and even now we are just beginning to discover all the variables and the subtle variables that make a lot of difference. And I think one of the biggest things we have got from our RMCL experience is just recognizing these variables. And so we also combine it with other things. So, for example, we were listening to chants in the sunshine. We found that being out in nature is actually a very good and important variable as well. So when he was in London, I call it sunny September. We had a beautiful month when Anant would practice his dance outside, and then after finishing the dance, he would also sit on that little, chair there and listen to his chants there. So there are all these combinations of variables in terms of the environment and the experience. So the chant itself is calming. So there is the calming chant, and there is a difference between listening to the chant in a bright fluorescent lighting versus the meditation hall kind of thing. So we can't get the meditation hall, but if you pay attention to the variables, you might think, gee, why don't I just you know create a dimmer lighting and then listen to the chant? So I think that is the point here. So even if everybody's not rushing off to Tiruvannamalai, I'm hoping that as they listen to these conversations, they will start thinking about some of the variables and how we could, play with them to support learning with those who have, a lot of sensitivity to sound and visual inputs, and things we don't even pay any attention to can really be bothersome for some of the neurodivergent children and even adults. So let's talk a little bit about the Girivalam and then finish this.
Yes. The Girivalam, as you told, that the walking and in walking has been the method to engage Anand. So he loves walking, and to Girivalam is also one such activity. But we are going around the hill. There is this added divinity to it. We enjoyed our Girivalams. And I thought I should, in the first Girivalam that I did with Anand, I was just wondering that I should share a lot of stories with Anand and to keep him engaged and to make him complete the Girivalam. But I realized that Anand loves the silence the more. So we had a meditative Girivalam actually. We had less of speaking, I thought. So he was also making an effort to be silent through the Girivalam, and he was actually inspired by this the slow Om Namah Shivaya chanting, which was happening all around the Girivalam. There are speakers which has this the soft chanting of Om Namah Shivaya. So I remember Anand telling us to stop near a bench where he could hear uh, the chant, and then we sat down there in silence listening to the chant. So these, I mean, so it's not the walking can be used to teach, but can also be the moments of silence, and we can just be enjoy the moments of silence and being with the dear ones, and just uh, as a part of enjoying the moment.
Thank you. And actually, I was remembering that combination also, because on some of the trips, the first trip we went for the full Girivalam on the first day, and we didn't get a chance to spend much time in Ramanashramam at that time. The second trip, we actually, you have your what I call your Ramanashramam rounds. You go to the different places, and then you sit down in various places. You sit down for 10 minutes or so and say the big hall, and then you again go and sit in that smaller old meditation hall. And so um, I myself experienced a difference, because you're going and having these experiences as you go around Ramanashram. And then we also sat down for the reading for a while. So we've done a round of the Ramanashramam with sitting down in different places and having that experience. And I actually felt that the Girivalam experience was different, because it was almost like your mind was already very calm when you set out on the Girivalam. So the first time to me felt more like a walk. The second time I somehow experienced it a little bit differently. So I've liked the way we've done the Girivalams and the later ones, where we take our own time in Ramanashramam and then proceed from there. So I think it's very interesting. I think I've discovered a lot of uh, variables in terms of environments and experiences and how they work together in Tiruvannamalai. So it's been a fascinating experience there.
Regarding our experience going to the up the hill, it's a difficult trek, so a lot of energy is being spent. And one of my friends who accompany me to Tiruvannamalai, he loves to spend time in Skandashram and Virupaksha cave. He says we have to be there and meditate. There's a different vibration he feels, a very calming experience he has. So I think it's that in the TAHT methodology. So the children who are very, very active, so we have lot of physical activities where their energy is drained and they get ready to sit and listen to the lesson being taught. So I think it's one of such activities, I guess, where we are climbing up the hill. So all our energy is being spent in that. And when we reach the destination where to meditate, so we are tired and we are ready to sink to the heart. So I think that's the I mean that's the thing. I mean, like, that's what I feel like.
True. So it's almost the reverse of the quiet Ramanashramam one, and then walking. Many of the children may not do that. They may not want to sit down and meditate before they go for a walk. Maybe they need that movement before they do. But this brings us to, one of the topics that a lot of parents of neurodivergent children are very worried about: sitting tolerance. My child won't sit. But I always tell them, move, why do you have to keep sitting? And well, maybe not just, maybe even I'm a little bit healthier, because we have walked so much. We have done so many of our lessons walking. So if you think about it, why do we have to sit and learn? It is just something man-made. We have said that we have to stuff 30 people in a classroom, make them sit quietly and pay attention. There is nothing that says that that's the only way to learn. And so throughout our homeschool, we did our morning lesson on the walk, and evening also we went, and even now we walk a lot. So, you know, I think that movement can lead to attention. And in fact, when people see some of Anand's videos, they say, oh, he's so attentive. He's so attentive to whatever Ujjwal is teaching him. Or, oh, he's so attentive in the dance. But that attention is coming because he's having a lot of movement. Even now we do a lot of theater activities, a lot of movement. So, and we'll discuss this again in later videos, but the daily rhythm, it's full of movement activities, full of little theater activities, storytelling, all of these things. But as I said, that's another topic, and a huge, big topic. But I think the environment is a big issue, and I'm very happy that in the Rays garden came up, and I'm very grateful to Dr. Sharda for suggesting this topic at the right time, because we can start 2025 with a focus on environment and how environment and experiences interact to create a better learning for our children and for adults as well. So thank you, Ujjwal, and we'll continue this conversation. And then I think we should talk about some other environments that we have experienced as well.
Thank you.